we got to cut the lights. Cut the lights. Hello, everybody. Thanks for coming out. Just in case you don't know for sure why you're here, this is Caffe, Lena Poetry Night. So you're all in the right place? Okay, good. Thank you for coming out, and I hope you held your breath on the way from your car here. It's pretty bad outside. I'm excited about our feature tonight. We have Jeffrey Stubits as our featured poet, so let's hear it for him. Get warmed up. His reading is going to be live streamed on Facebook and YouTube. For those of you who are already tuned in online watching, there's a tip jar you can contribute to support the cafe and Jeffrey. And let's let those folks watching online, how many people they're missing here. Let's hear how loud you guys can be. Let them know. Yay! That was really good. It sounded like 3 times as many people. We're going to have Jeff come up and read. That's going to be live streamed. Then we're going to shut the cameras off and have the open mic people come up. So I'm going to start the night with a poem by Dorian Lux called Evening. I was trying to find something to speak to the fine particulates in the air. And this was a mix of, had a little bit of hope. So I'm sharing this one. It's called Evening. Moonlight pours down without mercy, no matter how many have perished beneath the trees. The river rolls on. There will always be silence, no matter how long someone has wept against the side of a house. Bare forearms pressed to the shingles. Everything ends, even pain, even sorrow. The swans drift on. Reeds bear the weight of their feathery heads. Pebbles grow smaller, smoother beneath night's rough currents. We walk long distances, carting our bags, our packages, burdens, or gifts. We know the land is disappearing beneath the sea, islands swallowed like prehistoric fish. We know we are doomed, done for, damned, and still the light reaches us, falls on our shoulders even now, even here where the moon is hidden from us, even though the stars are so far away. All right, so Jeffrey Stubits is here with his first volume of poetry called Lilies for Olivia. He has a great display back there. We're going to take a break shortly after his reading, and you can look at his books back there and purchase as many as you'd like. He is a regular open mic poet at Caffe Lena. We haven't seen him so much since the pandemic, but prior to that, he was here all the time, and he was always captivated the room. He is also the creator of the YouTube series Johnny New Monologue and Jimmy Dixon to Be a Serious Actor. He was the bathhouse poet for 13 sessions on RPI radio, and he is an acting student of Patrick White, and he's recently been cast in several productions at Curtain Call Theater, which is a wonderful theater in Latham. Let's give a warm welcome to Jeffrey Stubits.
Greetings. Just a couple things really quickly. The play at Curtain Call Theater, Grand Horizons, it started June 1st. It's going to June 24th. I know in the thing it says June 18th. Just wanted to make that clear. And this is my book, Lilies for Olivia. I had a professor, Olivia, when I went to Sage College, who was like my Miss Miyagi poetry sensei. She took me under her wing, so this is kind of like a homage to her. So I got some poems to squeeze in tonight, and I'll just begin with this first one. It's based off of Wallace Stevens' 13 Ways of Looking at a Blackbird, but mine's a little more, it's a serious subject matter. It's called 13 Ways of Looking at an Albany County Parking Ticket. And so some of them might be a little abstract and out there, but it's more about the feeling and the mood and not always the image, but they make sense to me. Number 1, the desperate lover throwing herself like a harpooned mermaid one last time to block the doorway. Number 2, a candygram of termites. 3, the chicken now featherless beside the broken wheelbarrow. 4, the unlucky man that slipped on an icy banana and cracked his head open. 5, the engorged pigeon shit tick that wiggles its rear end in the wind like a triumphant tattletale. 6, a palm print from the low-totem bureaucrat that mistakenly confused his hand cream with mayonnaise packets. Number 7, a good morning grenade from the berserker librarian. Number 8, the opposite of a love letter. Number 9, the unfriendly reminder to move your coffee table 6 inches out from the couch so you can stop banging your toes every time you sit down to eat. Number 10, a discarded glove from the hand of Uncle Sam's favorite nephew. Number 11, nothing whatsoever in common with the reverence of a blackbird. 12, the obnoxious price for a good poem. And 13, toilet paper. Fix this slide. Just want to lower this a little bit. Okay, cool. There we go. Now I feel comfortable. Many years back, I was pretty rigid about carrying a notebook with me. Need to get back to that practice, but a few years ago, I just went down and typed out a bunch of the stuff I said. I plucked out 18 of them tonight that I kind of like. This was also during my heavy drinking years, so some of them were a little. It's called There Was a Traffic Jam at the Berry Picking Pasture. The first one is, supercilious is the artist that signs the front of his photograph. Number 2, atop Cascade Mountain, the man to the right of me compares his penis to the CN Tower inside of a beautiful poem. And she told me she loved me too. Number 4, I'm alone and eating cold squid with chopsticks on a Tuesday night. I don't know how, but in some way this has to be a metaphor. Number 5, I figured out that the key to fishing, like all things, depends on angularity. 6, intolerant tornadoes have an obsessive tendency to track down stationary trailer parks. 7, the commercial committee is committing intellectual genocide. 8, I find it really hard to believe St. Patrick was a college town drunk. Number 10, there's finally enough Dollar Generals to begin a war with Walmart. Number 11, I wonder if groups of people return to a shared memory. Number 12, if you stop believing, you stop receiving. 13, it was a crazy game of bocce when God created the cosmos. Number 14, not skillfully challenged in the art of scooping dog shit. Number 15, I was awarded a shark for killing a shrimp. Before I die, I must plant a forest. 16, maybe one day we'll donate our thoughts to cognitive science. 17, you should be so lucky to one day become that person you're stuck behind driving. Number 18, I drop road cones, but really, I'm sharing stories. All right, now to the poems. This one's called Exploring New Options. I'm seriously considering origami, so I can learn how to make boats out of my poems, so I can send them far away across the pond with reindeer names like Nina, Pinta, and Santa's Maria. I'm going to fill the deck with soil. Plant bulbs of garlic between the stanzas. I'm going to attach a mast and a sail and tiny solar fans that never quit. So that way, When the lights go out and my eyes turn black, I'll be able to cross Saturn knowing that I gave my poetry every opportunity at becoming beneficial. All right, next one. I spend a lot of time in the woods. I'm an avid mushroom forager, and no matter where I am in the woods, how far in I am, like I always hear a train every time. So it kind of like sticks out. I don't know if that's the same for you, but I always hear a train. Becoming tradition. One of the greatest mysteries I know I'll never solve is not the Rubik's Cube. I've done that once. But rather why, when I'm alone in the woods, sleuthing for fungus without a screech owl, an airport, a bulldozer for miles, suddenly crisp and clear, more powerful than a pack of foghorns, a train, a ghost train perhaps, it passes through someplace much closer than logic. Oh yeah, don't worry about clapping. Don't worry about clapping. I'm sorry, I'm having all kind of like difficulties with getting this. I gotta tighten this one. All right, this next one is based off the grand tack theory, in which Jupiter, when our solar system was created, it was much closer in here, causing all the asteroids to bash and bounce off of one another, creating Earth and the Moon and all the other planets. And then when Saturn came in, its gravitational pull pushed Jupiter out to the back nine. I was thinking about that one night. I wrote this at my sister's house. We were drinking a lot that night. I went outside to smoke like my last 3 cigarettes of the night back when I was a smoker. And the first draft of this came out. It's pretty fast. There's a lot happening, so whatever you catch, that's cool. It's called Grand Tack Appreciation. Let's separate it. All right. Ode to Jupiter, the creator of man, the father of man, the holy father, the assembler of everything conceptual and relative and green and blue and perfect. Ode to Jupiter, that has given these hands and these eyes and Walt Whitman and Buddha and Brahma and the body of Christ, Hitler and Charles Manson, in the balance, in the awareness of balance. Ode to Jupiter, the planet electric, the body electric, the bolt of 2 cells joining together. John Henry, in the hands of Brutus and Judas and Donald Trump. Love that resembles the commitment that Saturn once made, and Mars and Mercury, all of Apollo's children, before Alexa took the stage. This ode is to Jupiter that brought you murder and ego waffles, abundance within borders. We claim this ocean, that nation, these words. This ode is for Jupiter, God damn it, the unbiased mycelium of human brains, of animal brains, the fruiting body, the plenum spore print of everything gleaned and everything physical, so much so that I don't even understand what I just wrote. But I do understand how beautiful of a thing I'm trying to express at this hour. Oh, to Jupiter, for the booze in my urine and the smoke in my eyes and the water on this planet, and for now, the oil. Oh, to Jupiter, because I want us to know that everything is perfect, that everything has purpose, even the plastic. Oh, to Jupiter with every breath, because I think I get it. I finally get it. We know nothing at all. Oh, to Jupiter, because I want you to whisper in the direction of Zen that I'm keeping my eye on you. Oh, to Jupiter, because we gave you a name, because you're the creator of life, because we're both the same. Oh, to Jupiter, because you took the time to learn my name. You stepped outside on this vicarious evening to have a smoke and write a poem. You took a chance on this fool, and we polished it off. Well, thank you. This next one, I got a bunch of short ones. When the time comes, I'm going to write another book called An Assortment of Stones, and most of these are in there. This first one's called Attachment. The things we carry and refuse to let go lay the deeper print upon the second snow. This next one's called Living with Dogs. 12 years, and all I've been doing is sweeping up hair. So yesterday, I got down on my knees, and I drank from the toilet. This one's called Preparing for War. You learn everything you need to know about a person by sitting back and watching how they attack the stick of butter at the center of the table during a large gathering. This next one's called Circling the Wagon. 30 days sober. God damn it, am I ready to party? This next one's called Jeffrey Aaron. Go upward and outward at the very same time. Don't go backwards then downward. That's not good for mankind. This next one's called Peeling Open a Can of Wet Food for My Dog. Everything changed the moment my dog looked me in the eyes and wasn't even close to joking when he said, "Who's the good boy?" This next one's called Why I Keep Going On with Writing These Poems. It's because I'm a mouse on a wheel, and if I stop something, I don't know what, but I know it'll get me. This next one's Unnamed Baby. Oh, what wonders if snow were warm and angels were truly made, and men of snow came to life to dance beneath the shade. And what great compassion if the human race could sit and go inward and enter that space and remove like a shedding its cultural skin and the illusion of I and us and them, because oh how we blather and pretend that it's real and carve out deep trenches to hide what we feel. This next one, I went through a period of time where I was a construction worker, working nights like 70 to 75 hours a week. And we'd get like 3 or 4 hours during the day to just kind of find happiness. And there's this place called Waterloo Village when I was out in New Jersey in Bud Lake. This beautiful village just in the middle of the woods, middle of nowhere, just like right out of a movie. Just water coming through, a little stream, the whole mill and everything, old cobblestone houses. And there was a spot where I would go and meditate, like under a tree. And then one day I was just sitting there meditating. I opened my eyes, and there's nobody ever there. And I saw this guy across the pond just kind of look at me and then look around. And he was in like a tuxedo and a top hat and a camera. And I was like, oh God, I hope this guy is real. He was. But that idea always stuck with me. And so this poem is about when you're trying to meditate and you have all these thoughts like, what am I going to have for dinner? Should I buy the shoes? Does she love me? Like all these thoughts that just take you out of the moment of trying to find that grand nothingness. And I was big into astral projection for a long time. And it's just about getting to that state of just like vibrating. And then the man in this poem is like the personification of those thoughts coming in. So this is called The Constant Practice of Surrender in Meditation. I can't quite click into Lotus on cue. I played catcher in high school, so my knees are shaky, but I've got a spot, a soft one. It's above the old cemetery on Crystal Brook, where the stream really narrows and nobody ever goes. I've got a spot. I've got an apple tree and a pillow, a cat and a mouse, the entire farm. I begin this meditation by closing my eyes, but not completely. I scratch the inside of my palms because I'm nervous, and I clear my throat, fidget, crack my neck, do the throat thing a couple more times, and then wiggle my finger as far as I can down my ear canal to clear a path. I fight the urge to eat, slide my tongue across my teeth, and then really begin the process of sitting zazen, shakily, very shakily. I play a recording by Mr. Watts, and in this recording, Mr. Watts has asked me to become aware of the one that is performing the breathing. And I know for certain something within me, as true as benevolent, a machinist perhaps, has undertaken this burden, an apostle to the process of consciousness, and I'm thankful. So very, very thankful that I'm breathing. In, out, up and down, I'm breathing. And then I see the man The man that doesn't belong. And he's walking out from behind the barn, the cemetery, towards the embankment of the brook, and he seems not to notice the strength of my temple, the shape of my lungs, how I'm breathing. And he's dressed the same way that he's always dressed. And most likely will never mature into a more serious spy. Will all of the grace and spontaneity, since I don't require it, because I'm not attached, because I'm breathing. But I can see him, bent, skittering, losing his balance across the wet stones as they dry upward over the hill well past the old schoolhouse, and I'm breathing, I'm buzzing, my earlobes, my jaw. I correct my spine and it doesn't hurt, and though it's not quite comfortable, I embrace the slight tension for what it is. In, out, up and down, I'm breathing, I'm buzzing, becoming, I'm leaving, letting go of my body, of the bow, I surrender! But not without releasing, not without thinking. God damn it, of the man in black, the fly in the ointment, emerging from behind the tree, laughing as he raises his gun to the back of my head and slowly, very slowly, nudges my skull. This brings me back, all the way back to the beginning of my practice and into my body where I'm reminded that I'm breathing before I turn us into stone, that I'm breathing. Thanks. Okay, we're going to skip that one. All right, this poem's called Picking Road Cones. Like I said, I was a construction worker, and I was always rooming with someone because we basically lived out of hotel rooms going up and down New York and New Jersey. And it always seemed like I roomed with my buddy Jake for a while, and the guys I worked with were from like a very distant part of Pennsylvania, so he would always call his wife at night and talk to his kids, and he'd be like, oh, I'm coming home next weekend, and then we'd have to work next weekend, and it was just like, it was tough. So I wrote this kind of from that perspective, called Picking Road Cones. I pretend I'm fishing most nights. It helps tangle the time. Tonight we're hauling tuna, oily bluefin westbound Route 80 towards Cleveland. Can't wait for morning. Got a line of crab pots, 12 miles that needs pulling. Sometimes I see one of them mermaids, but not really. Each location I coned, well, it's like being happy. Depends on the weather. One day we'll go shrimping. Just me and my boy. And he'll remember. This poem's called Beneath the Menorah. Don't ever buy a writer a notebook. It's like buying someone a baseball glove without them having any knowledge of it. Never having tried it on, spit on the palm, rubbed it in, then, in the end, we find out they're left-handed. Certain things need to fit right. Shoes are too hard. They don't fold well, flop out of pockets like cellular trout. Buy a writer an object that doesn't make any sense at all. They'll love it, like a basket of milk or a gallon of flowers. Anything with a splash of wax to keep the wick from crusting over. Sorry. This one's called Mending a Metaphor. I was walking my dog Jackson one night, and it was raining, and we just went for a long walk, and in this one parking lot, I found like the top half of an umbrella just sitting there in the middle of this parking lot with no cars around, and you know, the street lights and the rain coming down. So I was like, all right, so I picked that up, and we were walking, I was using that. And then half a mile later, outside this other place, I found the handle, so I assumed somebody just like broke it off in their cars. They got in real quick and was like, ah, and then just like threw that out the window. But this is called Mending a Metaphor. I absolutely felt it then when it really started to rain. Not now. Now I'm just recalling it. But then walking Jackson across the empty parking lots during the night when it was only slightly raining, then I was really feeling it. Then, in the moment. I didn't want to circle back, but the rain had shifted like the mood of a girl on the evening of the worst birthday that she's ever had, when synchronicity intervened and set by the miraculous hand in Lot 3, an umbrella. The wet obsidian bat, wings extended, a nylon schooner shipwrecked, anything it could be in the beacon of the asphalt lighthouse. And it was a fantastic upscale model that I can afford but would never be so frivolous. Hand-stitched, black but split, broken at the sternum someplace beneath the chin. And there that laid was only the top part that covers the head, the curved kite, the important piece. This made the trek beyond the next pond of glowing lots even more special when the bottom half, handle, grip, and slide, the long arm reached out from a puddle outside of the pawn shop and tapped my ankle. And would you believe it, that still somehow the two pieces of the umbrella, they fit perfectly back together. I wish you could have been there with me to see that. Thanks. This one's called Listening to Carl Sagan with Fiona. Sometimes, more often than always, it's very hard to believe, perhaps mind-blowing, I think that's a great way to put it, that everything we know to be real in accordance to human scale, in aardvark, the atom, earth and moon, our benevolent sun, stars, nebula, the whole enchilada we claim to be ours fits so perfectly, and I do use that word sparingly, inside of an electron, every which way conceptually like an infinitude of nesting dolls without a beginning or an ending, similar to how an onion is an onion of an onion that reduces down to an onion before it is chopped equally into manageable pieces so the beautiful lady can make her soup. All right, a couple more. I'm doing good on time? Okay. This one's called Scrolling Down Hurricane Beach. I was at Hutchinson Island. My grandma had a place out in Florida when I was younger, and it was right after it got just destroyed by a bunch of hurricanes, and just all the sand was thrown up on dunes. And I was just standing there watching, and there was a guy walking this way with like a metal detector, just like swinging it around, and just like equally on the opposite side was this like dude in just like cut off jean shorts, just stopping, digging up these shells, holding them up, and like putting them on top of the beach. And it was just interesting, the different perspective of what they were each doing. Some combed the dry innards of sea, pitched upon land in buckets of baitfish from the hurricane's belly. Men with gold rush fever slog behind their beeping devices while kicking and shoveling through kelp and coral. The wind here has reshaped the shore from beach to desert dune, entombing aquatic critters whole, flip-flops in gold, rings, pearls, plastic pails, a parasailer, my alliteration. Along this sacked cove, feverish men hunt for shiny things, old peg-legged pirates once buried at sea, while others walk barefoot, pants torn at the knee, digging up shells like coins poking up from beneath. Okay. There's one I was trying to find here in particular. I had Post-its at one point. Okay. This one's, a few years back, I was selected with 13 other awesome poets to take part in like a New York State writing program for poetry with a woman named Dee Collins. And people like wrote down a sentence on a piece of paper, they got thrown in a hat, and then like we all took them out and like patched them together like to create a poem. So this is from a lot of work by other poets, and just kind of like put it together with some of my own words to make it make sense. Assembled by poets. Let's twist the kaleidoscope and see what happens. Let us become self-reflective. Let us unveil the holy experience that shapes our every mark, edit, and breath. Let us remove the hat and free the rabbit, then repose with a bowl of rice and curry. Let's twist the kaleidoscope and see what happens. Let us see if verbs fall out and gems fall out and flaming images of love and chaos. Let us listen to the rain that hits the barrel and the infinitude of the silence within us. Let's twist the kaleidoscope and see what happens. Let us swallow down the purple night. Let us collaborate to inform the labyrinth of its many doors. Let us be the awareness, the genie inside the bottle marked poetry. Let's twist the kaleidoscope and see what happens. Let us wrap it up, contort it, fold it into taffy. Let us sculpt it into layers, build it into monuments, carve it into language. Let us salute it, make sacrifices for it. Let its essence embody our hearts. And then, when we're alone in our bedrooms with nobody to impress, let us undress it, our poetry, so it can be relaxed and free to stretch out its wings into a beautiful image. Thanks. There's also a lot of darker poems in here, but I'm not going to read those tonight. So if you do pick this up, I'm just giving you a warning. This one's called Quasar. The more and more you become open to the idea that coincidences are the larval stage of enlightenment, they begin to happen more frequently and validate what you were assuming they would, because a dimension in that moment appears but cannot be seen, like a wormhole or a canal, because there is no evidence for it. There's something there that isn't between the ghost and bone. Codependence, like space and form, because everything communicates, and if you need to see it in order to believe it, then remain a stone. But I bet if you took a chance and wiggled carefully on the tips of your elbows right up to the edge and closed your eyes, you'd see it all happening all at once, whatever it is you want to call it. Almost done. Okay. This is one of my. This poem's like 22 years old now, so this is one of my older ones. So all of my friends that have heard me read this, they've heard it too many times. It's called "Scooping Granola." I've swung a hammer. I've churned poultice by hand in the wet chemical cellar of the Monticello Raceway Diner, still, even after it burnt down. One night at Kutcher's, Bill Rafferty tipped me $12 for recommending a good steakhouse, and I was lying, later fired. I've even once written a poem about writing a poem, and it won me some money, but I've never scooped granola. It was my first afternoon in the cafeteria grind. An old bean pan Betty, the homebrewed coffee, quaffing queen of precision, was my line lady mentor. I could sniff the schnapps on her verbal rubric, on her 1-2 exacto method, as Betty concocted the term. It was her very own up and under technique, another refined contribution among her stew pot of credentials. Amazing how she scooped. I could feel the gravity of a billion galaxies peeking over my shoulder, but I didn't care, not for $6 an hour on a Sunday in the back there, in street clothes without even a radio or a window half cracked so the birds could take notice. But old Bean Betty was there, honing in and standing aback, metaphorically crouching like an eager bobcat, waiting, sipping, and then it happened. I spilled the damn granola. Christ, Jeffrey, the old Betty moaned. It's not like we're doing rocket science. If it were only that simple. If only that peak phrase on the idiom ladder, the snowy cap on Cliché Mountain, held its weight and worth. It's not like we're doing rocket science. I'd like to think somewhere in Houston, behind the Space Center, there's a small lab completely devoted to the mastery of rockets and science. And there's an old man named Gus. No, wait. This is my poem. His name is Hyman Muckle, a hippie-haired grandfather of 3 with a parking meter frame. You could almost say that he's squirrely. Every morning for lunch, his wife Maureen packs him his favorite, a ham and Swiss on rye, and she trims the crust for her compost pile. She's the gardener. He's the scientist. And he hates ham and Swiss. But he always eats it and never, ever complains. And today Hyman's in that back lab calculating a plausible route to Europa or depressurizing an acclimation chamber, doing whatever it is that rocket scientists do. But he's in crapulent form. He had celebrated the night before with a half bottle of Pinot Grigio, and now his hands are unsteady. He keeps dropping the wrench as Bruce slides up behind. A towel-whipping clown that still pulls locker room pranks. He's the new motivational seeker because of a perfect 1-2 nepotism. His daddy still checks in from time to time, and Bruce is skulking closer. He's tapping his clipboard like a paddle in his palm as Hyman continues his rocketry, relying on the lunchtime bell, feeling the supernova of 1 billion stars exploding behind his silver head. And then he hears it, Bruce's bravado and the jocular tone of a snapping towel. Christ, Hyman, it's not like we're scooping granola. I got time for 2 more short ones? All right. There is one that I want to find really quickly. This is a good one. This one's called Spotting the Long Shot. I grew up spending my summers in Monticello Raceway. My uncle he drove horses there. So I'd always be in the barn with them helping out with the horses. And there are all these like huge fly strips with all these flies attached to them. And I would just always watch them, just twitching and moving and trying to break. That's what I was focused on all the time. And then one day, one of those flies broke free and flew away. Spotting the long shot. I think the most enlightened fly affixed to the strip that there is no difference. And that one, the fly, seemed well aware, wise beyond its chemistry to know the redacted command, the one that is really bad for every business. Thou shalt not become attached. I know this for certain because what I saw happen next is mostly true, unless you completely believe me. But that one, the fly, detached from glue and slid 8 feet without falling into the bucket the groomsman was filling, and it flew away, better than ever, right out of the gate, 99-1, towards the glistening, cloudless center of a spider's web. Okay, and I have one more that is 5 lines, but yes, okay, I'm going to move on to that one. Before I read it, I just want to express gratitude to Carol for doing this month in and month out, extremely selfless and the heartbeat of this whole operation. I know just because I'm saying it, everybody else feels it. And also the wait staff here that takes care of everybody. This is, I published the book to actually do this. I came here 6 years ago, and I saw that the requirement to do this was to publish a book, so this was kind of my inspiration to bring this all full circle. So, yeah, I have a lot of gratitude for that. I was supposed to do it a couple Februarys ago, but I ran into a little health issue. But everything worked out, and I'm glad you're here to share this with me, and everybody's here to support one another. This last poem is called Buddha. I am the rattlesnake, and I am the light, and I am everything that is in between, including both black and white. And so are you. Thanks.
All right. Thank you, Jeffrey. Let's hear it for Jeff one more time. We're going to have a few open mic poets read, and then we'll take a break, and you can look at Jeff's books back there. He's selling them at a very reasonable price, so there's no excuse not to pick one up. I'm excited for all these open mic people that we've got. So when it's your turn to come up here, you get 1 long poem or 2 short poems.